All right, welcome back to another Friday Reads, where we're going to talk about what I've read, what I'm reading, what I'm planning to read. Let's check in. I have finished some things since the last time we talked. First of all, I finished Mistborn. I'm not going to talk too much about it because pretty sure, that I'm going to film a standalone spoiler gush review thing. But I guess spoiler free, it's like my fourth reread. Of course I love it. If I didn't love it, I have a problem and need to stop reading it. It was amazing. Just such a great experience. Honestly, one of the more rewarding rereads of the year so far, and I reread the Winter Night trilogy this year, so yeah. I also finished for my book club, Deacon King Kong. I thought about doing a review for this one because I actually have a lot of thoughts, but I know not a lot of you come here for literary fiction, so I feel like, I don't know, it would be weird, and I feel weird talking so much about a genre that I'm like really not super well versed in. I mean, I've definitely read a fair few, like I've read like 20 to 30 in the course of the last 5 years, so I'm not like a novice, but it's definitely not my forte, but I finished it. And let me just say that we had 22 people at book club, 15 of them gave it 5 stars. So my opinion is vastly in the minority. It's like an average book for me. Actually, no, it's one of those books where I really did like the writing style. And a lot of the time I really liked the content, even the tangents. It's very much literary fiction where it has this playful voice. It's very meant to be funny. It has these weird tangents, like we follow ants for a while. And the setting is really interesting. 1969, Brooklyn, New York. It's really well done in all of those aspects. But my issue is actually like has to do with the title. Deacon King Kong follows the Deacon, who he's called this in the neighborhood. He's also called Sportcoat because King Kong is the moonshine his friend always makes. His friend's name is Hot Sausage. There are lots of funny nicknames in this book, but I think the nicknames are also part of the setting from what I heard in book club, that just in this neighborhood, everyone just gives each other these nicknames. But regardless, the Deacon King Kong Sportcoat character was really hard for me to consume with the tone of the book. Like, to me, his character invoked a lot of sadness and discomfort because he's this kind of drunk, abused older man who can't remember events in his day. And like the catalyst of the story, like back of the book, is he goes into the square where this kid is selling heroin, also a heavy topic, right? And shoots him in the ear point blank, so the kid doesn't die. But that's the catalyst of the story, and he doesn't even remember that moment. And we were centered around him. He's like the linchpin of the story. Like, yes, we look at different parts of the community. We get a whole host of point of views, both from the Black community, the Irish community, the Italian community. There's a lot going on, and I think it's a really great, vivid picture of this community. But for me, there was just this tonal dissonance that I just could not remove from my mind. Like, I could not stop whenever he was on page, be really sad and feel that he was a victim of his circumstance. And honestly, I was getting around to not being as bothered by it. It was going to be like a 3.5, maybe a 4, depending on the ending, and I did not like the last chapter. I don't think it was a bad choice, but it was not a choice that made the themes work better for me. And I was already having issues relating to the themes because of the artistic choice of the tone. And I do think it's a good choice, it just didn't work for me. And like I said, I was vastly in the minority on this one. And I don't think it's because this isn't my genre or isn't my book. I've read things like this that I have loved. And there was like a moment, like I said in last week's wrap up, where I almost wanted to binge it out because there were some things this author wrote that were amazing, like these little love vignettes. Like, you have these two characters meeting and you can almost see them falling in love in front of your eyes, and it's not insta-love, it's completely like a human experience that you get to be in on. So there were things that I thought were done phenomenally. And also, I just think it was a bit too long. That's kind of maybe a theme of my last weeks of reading, is like some of the books I was reading was just a bit too long. Like, this was 370, 380 pages. I think it should have been like 300 pages because I just felt like there were times where it dragged. And not that it was ever a plot book, but like, I don't know. I didn't get what I wanted from it, and it had so much potential. So it's like partially a disappointment and partially just like the themes and the main character were just not working with me with the writing style choice. But I do think you should check it out. Like, it's very interesting, especially if you are like into literary fiction, but I do predict it's something you're either going to love or not connect to whatsoever. I also finished Winter's Orbit, which I am going to film a review for. It probably won't be that long, but my Patreons voted for this one, which I have a Patreon. If you didn't know, you get to vote on my TBR, like one book a month, and there's a book club, and there's reading sprints, and there's cat pictures. It's a fun time, but I'm going to film a review for this. But I buddy read this with my friend R, who has their channel This Cubed, and I generally really enjoyed my time. I do have some complaints. It's not a perfect book, but I'm really glad I read it because I read it this past weekend. I was recovering from my second dose of the COVID vaccine, and it was just nice to have this like romance sci-fi in my hands because it really does the romance components pretty well for me and my tastes. If anything, I wanted a little more. So this one was really fun, really great for buddy reading, and I'm really glad that I was encouraged to pick this up because honestly, it was not a high priority anytime soon. Things that I continued that I talked about last week. Sunspot Jungle. I have read a few more stories. I don't have anything particular to say. I'm definitely feeling more like I'm getting 3.5, 4-star stories at this point. There are some that I do really like, and I like the variety, and I'm really surprised and happily surprised that a lot of these are translations. So that's been really cool, is that there's a lot of translations here, so I get definitely different countries. Like there was a story from a Czech author, one that was Finnish recently, we had one from South America. Like there's a lot of good variety, and it's been so much fun to buddy read, and I'm so glad I'm taking my time. When I read the first volume of this anthology, I like tried to binge it in like 2.5 weeks, and it's like a 500-page short story anthology, and that was just too much. Because on the whole, a lot of these are kind of experimental, or at least not told in a traditional way. There was one story by P. Djeli Clark, and I really liked it. This was the short story, I think it was called The Master of St. Petersburg, and it was a story where like so many people are like, I can't believe P. Djeli Clark makes me connect to characters so fast. This is so cool. And that was a story where I was just like, I get it. When we were following this 8-year-old boy, I don't know if he's from Egypt or the Middle East, but he ends up in Russia and has to help solve the mystery behind what's happening with the Tsar there. And it included folklore from Russia, which I love, from the Winternight trilogy, and that was a great story. So there are like really good hits like that. There's one author where I'm like, I need to find out if there are more of her works translated out there. That was the Finnish author. That was a story that had some really good creepy tones. And as I talked about in one of the videos recently, I think it was probably my unpopular opinions video, unsure. But I really like creepy things that are like, I don't know, they have a certain tone to it. It was really cool. And like talking to Shannon, she mentioned to me that it had odes to Edgar Allan Poe, which is an author I really like. And I'm like, oh, I see that now. And it also kind of had Lovecraft and Sherlock Holmes elements, and it was a really good atmospheric story, and I really liked at least the translations writing. Like I guess I don't know if that's actually the author's writing style, but it read super well to me. So that's been a really good ongoing thing, and I'm still working on The Tower of the Swallows. I'll be real, it's not bad, but it's not amazing. He's making some really interesting narrative choices, and sometimes it's a little jarring. Like, I don't quite understand why we are looking where we're looking, and we're still in the process of catching up to present day. And so I'm not disinterested, but I'm not like super intrigued. So I've been reaching for my podcasts more recently, especially because I've been having a few down days. And so forcing myself to listen to an audiobook when I have down days is just like not a thing. I am liking the audiobook. It's just the content, like I said, I don't know why we are focusing on the parts we're focusing on, and I don't know where we're going, and I'm just, it's fine. Like, I think this is where I've been with the Witcher series for a while, is just like, I don't know why we're doing what we're doing. My favorite parts have always been the Monster of the Week tones of the short story collection, and I really liked Blood of Elves, and ever since then it's just not been the same, and I really liked Baptism of Fire. There are just things that I really like that the series does, but it never does those. And it's one of those things where I'm just like, I'm frustrated because the author has different things it wants to do, and I want him to do other things. But now into things that I picked up, because I did pick up Dead House Gates. I am this far, which really is quite a lot, guys. I am 120 pages in this 836 page book, and I also like the slap of it. I did end up buying my own mass market paperback because I don't know, I wanted to. I was finding myself wanting to refer back to Gardens of the Moon, so I bought Gardens of the Moon and this. Also, I mean, I would have bought the ebook, but the ebook was more expensive. Like, I know that's common, but I just hate it. Like, I'll never buy an ebook if the physical's cheaper. The physical's concrete. I own it. I can give it to a friend. But I've been actually doing something I rarely do, which is use a pencil and annotate in the book and like underline things for reference later. So I am making good progress here. Oh, Malazan. It's a jigsaw-y situation again. There are so many plot threads that I'm picking up and trying to figure out which ones connect where, who has what motivation. This one has a lot more cultural exploration than Gardens of the Moon, which I'm liking because we are in the 7 cities, which I really wanted to see when we were in Gardens of the Moon. So I'm really excited that we're unpacking that. I am going to, like last time, do a spoiler vlog and do a spoiler-free review. So I'll try and keep my thoughts concise in these weekly updates since I'm going to have other videos with that content. But just know I'm having a great time. I mean, it's a weird time. It's like, it's not a normal reading experience, but I'm enjoying it. Like, it's a puzzle that I like putting together. Like, do I like doing jigsaw puzzles all the time? No, but sometimes I really want to. That's kind of how I feel about Malazan. It's like, sometimes I want to pick up all these threads and try and figure it out, and it's a fun time. Can't do it all the time, but it's good right now. And the last one I started is Phoenix Extravagant, and this is it without the dust jacket. Like, I have the dust jacket holding its place on the shelf, but like, look at this. This is stunning. And you can't really tell, but it kind of has the texture of like an old library book. I really like it. And Jocelyn and I are buddy reading this, and we kind of noticed it has these beautiful end pages. This is also the book club pick for April for my Patreon. So if you were interested in discussing this book, join the Patreon. But I am having a great time. I've only am 3 chapters in, but the main character is a non-binary artist who is suffering from unemployment. And I don't know, I really like that it's an artist perspective because I feel like I don't in fantasy get to read from that perspective often, and how an artist as a main character looks at the world is really interesting. I really like that they're non-binary. I think that's really great, and it's written with the singular they frequently, which I think is good practice for me, but also know that going in because I know for me, I'm so not used to reading the singular they that although it's grammatically correct, sometimes it's a little jarring, but it works really well, and it's, like I said, good practice. Practice makes perfect. And from what I can tell, only 3 chapters in, but we are in a fantasy place, kind of maybe steampunky-ish, and it's like kind of, my interpretation is Korea's invasion by Japan is the influence behind the history of this place. And I'm really liking it. Are we shocked that I'm liking a Yoon Holly book? Anyone? No. I mean, it's very different than Machineries of Empire because, like, the world building is much kinder. Like, this feels more like a standard fantasy world building. It's still not, like, hand-holding, but it's not, like, as extreme. I'm really curious to see what happens next. Like, our main character just got put into a really compelling situation, so I really am excited to see it. I'm excited that it's on the shorter end, because this one's is not short. And so that's what I've been reading now, and when I finish Phoenix Extravagant, because, you know, it's only 300 pages, so I will probably finish that before I next check in, I need to start The Gilded Ones. Or, yeah, no, that's the one I'm reading next, because I want to try and finish that one and Phoenix Extravagant before Tome Topple on Monday. And the rest of the books on my brackets are then tomes minus Machine Hood, which I have down here. Who knows what I'll read when Tome Topple starts? I have The Burning God and We Free the Stars. So if you guys have a preference, let me know. I'm leaning towards The Burning God because I really need to know how that series ends, but also I really like We Free the Stars. I don't know. So, and I guess I'll show you my bracket so you can kind of see what I've read and haven't read so far, but I'm pretty sure I'm so far good in my prediction that The Gilded Ones I will like less than Phoenix Extravagant based off the 3 chapters that I've read. And Winter's Orbit, it might be The Gilded Ones, we will see. That one I didn't like quite as much as I expected, but I still liked it a fair bit. Deadhouse Gates is going real good. Like, I know The Burning God's going to be a very different book, but I at least feel confident in that I am liking it and that I wasn't wrong to say it was maybe going to win a matchup. So those are all the updates I have for the bracket, and I'm working on the Magical Creatures Readathon, and Phoenix Extravagant counts for a few of the prompts. It counts for LGBTQ, it counts for adult, it counts for Asian, and it counts for one of the land, air, or sea elements. I don't remember which one, but it counts for a lot of stuff on that bingo board, so that's great. And Tower of Swallows also counts for, I think, Europe. So I am working on it. It's just, I was reading sci-fi, and that doesn't work as well for magical creatures. And that's it for this video. A longer check-in than normal. I probably rambled a bit too much about Deacon King Kong. What are you reading this weekend? Are you participating in Tome Topple? I will link an announcement video for Tome Topple down below. It's one of my favorite readathons. It's super chill. It's literally, you have 2 weeks to read as many of the tomes as you want. And I almost always have tomes on my TBR, so it's always a great motivator, and I love doing their reading sprints on Twitter and things like that. And if you made it this far and you just want to leave an emoji and don't want to tell me what you're reading, leave me something red, actually, because I'm really digging this. And actually, like, one of the symbols is like red and blue, so if you find something with that combination, like, you're doing great. And otherwise, like if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.